Hello everybody, it's Ian Baker from EMCOR UK here. Very pleased to be here and very pleased that EMCOR UK have decided to sponsor this year's Workplace Trends Conferences. I'm going to be speaking to you today about facilities management, COVID and the workplace. After I wrote the title, it reminded me of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and it has certainly felt like we've been living in a fantasy land for the past few months. It has been a pivotal year for workplace. We really have entered a whole new phase of work, a different world at work. And it's been a pivotal year for EMCOR too. It was way back in 2013 when we decided to move away from the M&E installation market and focus our attention on the FM sector. We kept our technical expertise and our design and build capability, and we enhanced our total FM offer with a collaborative approach. And this has been fantastic for us. But in late 2019, we needed to adapt again, not just to stay relevant, but to also ensure our purpose was aligned with all our key stakeholders, including our customers, our colleagues, supply chain partners, and the communities where we work. Just over a month ago, we launched our new brand and our new purpose, a better world at work. Our aim is that we'll bring our best together to create a better world at work, better from a workplace perspective, better from the planet's perspective, and better from a human perspective. The test we're facing now, more than at any time before, is one of user experience. And we're really inspired by the possibilities that this test and our new purpose opens up for us. I'm going to talk about facilities management, the lion, in relation to COVID-19, the witch, and workplace, which for many of us at the moment is the wardrobe. So, on to FM. Very early on in the pandemic, we needed to help our customers, and at the same time, we were busy working out how to help ourselves. Combining all of our knowledge, we developed a COVID-19 standard called Workplace 9. This was a way that we could ensure not only best practice and compliance, but a COVID-secure method of managing the physical environments. Workplace 9 covers the following areas: access for staff and visitors, antiviral cleaning and new surfaces, social distancing and space planning, heating, ventilation and air conditioning, vending, collaboration spaces, post, catering and transport. Space planning was an obvious place for us to start. The government's advice on social distancing meant that we all had to review our office spaces, and we quickly developed solutions which revolved around helping customers actually change behaviours rather than rely solely on signage. We were also lucky that we'd been involved in some leading research projects looking at how indoor environments affect our cognitive performance. And some of you may remember this from last year's Research Spring Summit. The knowledge has proven useful when looking at how ventilation and air conditioning can be used to control the spread of the virus in buildings. EMCOR UK manage some of the country's most critical buildings, but we need to remember that for every critical building, there is also an office attached, and sometimes these offices are in danger of being overlooked. But not anymore. Before COVID-19, we all walked into spaces, whether they were our normal places of work, a coffee shop, a gym, basically any indoor space, and we handed over responsibility of the air we breathed in that space to the building owners or the people managing that building. And we had no idea what kind of air that was. So setting aside the issues of breathing air in enclosed spaces during a pandemic, we can expect a far higher focus on all our indoor spaces, with people questioning the environments that they're in. This is going to continue even further as we become more educated about certain pathogens, about VOCs, CO2, NO2, or potentially negative things that are present in the air that we breathe. All provided to us by people we probably don't know or who have any culpability in ensuring that what we breathe in those spaces is not harmful to us. And this is just one reason why I believe workplace and facilities management fit so neatly together. Being responsible for these areas, it's easy for us to provide both monitoring and control and advice to the customers that are using that space. We've had sensors in some of our customers' building throughout this period, and we have been monitoring their environments as they've returned to the office spaces. The graph that I'm showing here is actually a customer of ours in central London, where the occupancy has had to stay fairly constant throughout. We changed the HVAC so that we're now bringing in 100% fresh air, which actually brings in challenges of its own. As you can see, the graph in the upper right-hand corner shows a spike of particulate counters up to about 4, whereas the bottom graph shows the same area with external particulate counts up to about 20. And this shows that the filters in the system are working very well, but that also the external environment affects the indoor environment far more than it has done in the past. When we say workplaces, what do we mean? There are so many instances where our workplaces knit so closely with the physical building. Utilizing the experience that we have between the disciplines of workplace and FM equates to a much higher likelihood and ability to affect good employee workplace experience. So, looking back to that test, the one that we're facing, the one of user experience, what does it mean and how can we tackle it? Organizations want their people to perform to the best of their ability. They don't want an office, they need a productive workforce. But one thing to note is people are complicated. People need environments to be engaged and motivated and productive, but they require a holistic approach. The graph on the right-hand side is from Gallup Heathway's Wellbeing Index. This shows that people need purpose, social, financial, community, and physical well-being. We've added a column on the right-hand side as to how workplace can influence these categories. So physical, workplace can provide amazing places where people can do amazing work. Social, great workplaces can support social connections and interactions. Financial, better performance equals successful businesses reward successful employees. And communities, a great workplace is a community, whether it's remote or in the office. And physical well-being is obviously one of the main points that we need to focus at during this difficult time. And a great workplace that values well-being, encourages you to be healthy, can really go a long way to helping you be engaged, motivated, and productive. But people need technology. So for me, technology is the thing that sets us free. It enables us to get away from the office. It's the thing that's helped during this pandemic to drive forward our ability for flexible and agile working. But it also represents the technology that's in the building itself. The ability to gather live data on the workplace, to make proactive decisions daily if necessary, rather than wait for a project at the end of a decade. This enables change which is appropriate to the way the space is used, providing a continuum of optimum working environments. Workspaces next. Workspaces needs to be efficient and effective. But how much space does an organization actually need? Space costs money, so it's important to understand how much you need and whether it's working for you. Space needs to be efficient, effective, flexible and agile, and provide you with the ability to focus and collaborate. Organization. We know that people are more drawn to companies who share their values. If you work for an organization and truly believe in what they stand for, you're far more likely to be engaged, motivated, and productive. We need to move away from work as a destination towards work as a community. And work as a community thrives on shared values, a clear purpose, and a connected mission. And then there's product, responsible consumption, positive impact, circular economy. There's been a huge focus on climate change just before the pandemic, and it's something that we all need to get back to. The product and the output of your organization will go a long way to attracting engaged and motivated employees. And it's the engaged and motivated employees that will help drive that business forward. Then experience. We all talk about customer experience, employee experience, workplace experience. But what we really mean is people experience, because everything you see, everything you do, everything you feel contributes to that sense of experience. And every element that we've just talked about previously has a bearing on that experience and has a bearing on the people in your organization. So, how do we get this right and make it fit for your employees? Well, we need evidence. Evidence is at the heart of workplace management. If you ask 100 people what they want in order to work effectively, it should come as no surprise that you'll get some crazy requests. Evidence of how we work separates the things we want from the things we need. Why is that? Because we're terrible at working out what we actually need rather than what we want. Wanting what we don't need is an annoying human trait. And there is actually a law that explains this. It's called the Diderot effect, and it was first described by Denis Diderot himself. He wrote an essay called Regrets of Parting with My Old Dressing Gown, and in it he tells the story of being given a beautiful new dressing gown, which was so amazing that after a while he realizes all his other possessions look worn out in comparison. He becomes dissatisfied with all his other possessions to the point that he ends up buying a whole new set of everything to match his dressing gown. So although he had a chair, which was everything he needed, he replaced it with a new fancy one covered in Moroccan leather. Then he replaced his old wooden desk with a new leather-inserted writing table. I can hear the Herman Miller guys sucking through their teeth as I speak. But he soon replaced his pictures to match the new wallpaper, which matched the new rug, which matched the table, which matched the chair, which matched his new robe. And then he was broke. Eventually, he said, I miss my old robe. I was master of my old robe, but I have become a slave to my new one. 200 years later, the Diderot effect has been used against all of us by large corporates making us want to buy things we don't need. It has also been used by economists to describe consumption driven by dissatisfaction. And what this means for ourselves is that we're often blind to what is good for us. And so this is where data comes in. So I'm not talking about the scary type of data, the data stolen from us in order to make us react in a certain way. I'm talking about the good old-fashioned useful kind of data, the kind of data that actually tells you something about yourself, data which provides insight, data which helps us navigate the difference between what we want and what we need. Because as individuals or even as teams, we're terrible at doing that for ourselves. We need to make sure that when we're looking at improving our workplaces, that we take time to gather data before trying to affect change. This is especially important now as we look to change the ways of working, because what we need in the future is unlikely to be what we had in the past. What we need is a better world at work. So is it what do we want, or should it be what is it that we need? I would like to end on a passage from someone else's speech, which I realize is cheating, but I heard this 3 years ago and it resonated with me so much that I'd like to share with as many people as possible. So this is a section from Robert F. Kennedy's speech from an election rally at the University of Kansas back in 1968. And in a display of gross misediting, I've shortened and updated it, but if you'd like to see the whole piece, I'll put it on my LinkedIn page. Robert F. Kennedy said, "Even if we act to erase material poverty, there is another greater task. It is to confront the poverty of satisfaction, purpose, and dignity. For too long, we seem to have surrendered personal excellence and community values for the mere accumulation of material things. We judge ourselves by our gross national product, but that gross national product counts cigarettes, air pollution, car sales, and ambulances to clear our highways of carnage. It counts special locks for our doors and the prisons for the people who break them. It counts the destruction of our forests and the loss of our natural wonder in chaotic sprawl. Yet, the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play. It does not include the beauty of our poetry, or the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of our public debate, or the integrity of our public officials. It measures neither our wit nor our courage, neither our wisdom nor our learning, neither our compassion nor our devotion. In short, gross national product measures everything except that which makes life worthwhile. And it can tell us everything about our country except why we are proud to belong to it. And if this is true here at home, so it is true elsewhere in the world. It feels like, due to the pandemic, we've had a break from this. Let's not rush to get back to it. Regarding the office, choice and flexibility have always been key to a great workplace experience, and they're likely to remain so. And whilst working from home is good for some, it should not be a long-term solution for all. Perhaps working near home could provide the best of both worlds. Either way, we must grasp this opportunity to look at how we structure the world of work, but we should do so diligently and with patience. Thank you for listening.
I've got one question, and I almost don't want to ask it. I almost feel a little bit embarrassed about asking it. You and I both know that CO2 in the office is a bad thing. We need to keep it down to manageable levels, 600, 700 ppm, whatever. If I'm wearing my mask in the office, am I not breathing in my own CO2?
I had a relatively stupid answer. I was going to say I haven't got a professional answer, but someone was talking to me about this the other day, and I said, well, if you were having some brain surgery, do you think the surgeon's wearing a mask? And if the surgeon's wearing a mask and he's breathing his own CO2 and he's affecting his cognitive performance, now how happy are you going to be about that? So
yeah, blimey, yeah, okay.
Did you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I definitely fall asleep if I wear a mask for an hour or more. So maybe it doesn't affect surgeons the same way. Mark Catchler has a question for you, Ian. I would be interested to know whether you think the world of FM is now more valued. If so, how do you retain that?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the focus of the last few years, I think, about trying to up the value of FM, and the change from the BIFM to the Institute of Workplace and Facilities Management has helped, enormously in that. We're on a big drive to help as many of our customers as possible in the world of workplace, and obviously the presentation was aimed to show how more valuable work FM point of view can be for customers, rather than just focusing on one or the other. So I like to think it very much is valuing, increasing the value of FM, but I also like to think it's changing and increasing the value of workplace as we start to align the two aspects.
I mean, I'm seeing on projects at the moment a lot more people involved. It's not just FM, CRE, it's health and safety, occupational health, HR. Have you seen that shift as well? That the team has grown, and I think it's because workplace has changed so much now. It's not just FM and CRE.
Yeah, and I think that it depends very much where the drive for workplace change comes from. If an organisation is led from a workplace perspective, from an HR area, then I think some of the aspects that they look at will be different. The same as if it starts looking at it from a technological perspective. So all of these people now need to get involved, and it's to the benefit of everybody when everybody starts talking to each other across party, rather than just kind of keeping everything very tight and saying, we're managing the space, so therefore we manage the workplace. It doesn't work like that. You need to start, talking about the people that manage the people and the people that manage the tech. And that's where I think we feel that for FM providers, certainly from an...
Gone again. David, do you want to finish his sentence?
I don't know where it's going. Only to say that I do totally agree with him. I think that FM over the last few years has had to rise to the challenge to show where we are adding value. And I think that we can add value in a number of ways. And I think this has been a great opportunity for us. Whether or not we will take the lead, or whether HR or IT will actually take the lead in some of these transformations, I'm not sure. But I think that what's important is that we're at the strategic end, giving input, not just doing the implementation.
Okay. You had a question for. I'm going to ask you the question you were going to ask Ian. Will FM become the head of remote too? What does that mean? I don't even know what it means.
Well, I think that basically, as we're going to see an awful lot of people working remotely, and we were talking about it earlier, where were the legal responsibilities in terms of making sure that workplaces are fit for purpose? Is FM going to not just do the workplace being the office, but the workplace being the home office? And I think the answer is yes, it will. It's going to have to rise to that challenge, and I think that it's going to have to put in measures to vet and make sure that people's offices, or people's homes offices, are fit for purpose and that they can work from there. Because clearly there's an awful lot of the younger generations, as Tim Oldman said, couch surfers or sofa surfers, working from places, or the kitchen table that really aren't suitable.
Yeah, I think, I hadn't thought of it until the questions was raised and so on. But yeah, and it came up in my speech as well, that we still think of workplace as the space. We haven't quite caught on in terms of our terminology and how we talk about it, that actually, if you're responsible for workplace, you're responsible for home, remote work, and it's the virtual world. Are you going to stay with us this time, Ian?
I've no idea. I've switched to Wi-Fi. I was on a connection, so who knows?
So, what were we talking about? I've forgotten. I've got another question.
I think for me, the thing that have I gone again?
No, you're still here.
I think the thing that helps power up the FM perspective is that whilst we're whether you're in-sourced or outsourced, you're often there and you're gathering data, and it's that data that you can then use to help shape the workplace. And it's that Tim showed a graph earlier. It's one of my favourite Leesman graph, where over 10 years the LMI score starts to dive quite dramatically. And the thing that I think that we're able to do, and if you merge the two together, is we can constantly nudge that LMI score up and keep it as high as you possibly can. And it's not to say that that's just through a Leesman data process. It's about utilization. It's about the technology that you use. It's everything. It's everything. Car parking, cleaning, all of it. And I think that's the crux from an office workplace perspective. When you start adding in remote, as David's question was alluding to, then I think we're spreading those tentacles out even further. And it's still the organisation that you're looking after. It's still the organisation that is responsible for those employees to be the best that they can be. Admittedly, they might be somewhere else, but FM still has a big role to play in that whole wider conversation. So that's.
I'd also be a bit of a strong advocate that contract terms should be longer than 3 years or even a year. I think there should be the 5+2s, because otherwise you can't put that long-term involvement into an organisation to make sure that LMI is constantly increased.
Yeah. I mean, we're quite lucky. We have some very strong relationships, but procurement in FM, massively needs to change. When you're looking at constantly driving to be the lowest cost, what you can deliver is obviously dependent on the cost, and if you're looking to be changed around every few years, you need that long-term relationship. You need to kind of put your marker in the sand.
That's dodgy talk, though. The government will soon be claiming that we should have 8-year kind of sessions instead of 4 years. Maybe that's a good or bad thing. I don't know. We're nearly out of time, and what I would suggest, Ian, is that in the break, after we finish the next speaker, hang around, and then people can ask you questions as well. I do have one, though, and it's just because I've been struggling to find data on it. I know for a fact that when it comes to air-conditioned systems, we recirculate air because there's a sustainability element to that. You're not constantly warming or cooling external air. But one of my concerns is that how much recirculation is going on, and is that not bad from a health perspective?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the moment, we're in the graph that I showed, we've turned that to 100% fresh air, which was fine throughout the summer months, as you can imagine. Now we're getting into winter. 100% fresh air is going to create challenges of its own, and there is, talk about just saying to people that the temperature of the office will be whatever it needs to be to manage the COVID response. But as we go forwards, and that's not really acceptable. So we're going to have to come up with some better ways of doing that. Whether that is going to be based on occupancy and really kind of limiting the occupancy for the amount of recirculated fresh air that we're allowed to start using. Again, the problem is, Nigel, every building is different and every HVAC system is different. I think it was something that Chris Moriarty said a couple of years ago, was one of the best Leesman scored buildings was a building with windows that opened and radiators that you can turn on and off.
Yeah.
So maybe something where you can be in control of your environment is going to be the way that we need to start looking.
I definitely agree with that. So Ian, thanks very much for your presentation. As I said, hang around after Neil and